The easiest and most popular way to load your chart of accounts is using the Import from Excel or QuickBooks interfaces. The other option is to manually add your accounts. But regardless of which approach you plan to use, understanding your setup options will allow you to meet your end requirement as fast as possible. Before we go any further, let's address some terminology. Category is the first term I'd like to address. In Plan Guru, a category is a discrete row on your budgeted financial statements. Depending on how you set up your analysis, it could be a single account or a group of your source data accounts combined into one budgeted row. Subtotal. A subtotal is two or more related categories that have been combined into a group on the face of the financial statements. Subtotal groupings can be shown as collapsed or expanded to expose the underlying detailed categories. This feature is only available in the Enhancement Edition of Plan Guru. The next term is supporting schedule. The supporting schedule functionality allows you to add additional detail under a financial statement category. Supporting schedules can be added on the income statement only. The next term is class. Classes in Plan Guru equate to high-level financial statement groupings such as current assets, current liabilities, or revenue, to name a few. And the last term to address is subclass. The subclass is an attribute of the category, and it dictates default cash flow treatment and the availability of specialized forecasting methods. Each class has a number of available subclasses. For example, current assets has the following list of subclass options: cash and cash equivalents, trade receivables, inventory, other current assets. Each subclass within a class typically has a specialized forecasting method. For example, the inventory subclass has the day's cost of sales method. Other current liabilities has the accrued expense method. Subclass options can be set while using the import utility or through the Add Change category tool. Let's now discuss some of your chart of accounts setup options. If you recall from the analysis setup video, the last dialog shows an Add Change class option. Plan Guru allows you to rename, remove, or add classes to accommodate your chart of accounts. For customers who plan to use the import utility, take a minute to review the default class structure of your blank template. If you must make changes, you'll save time by making them before you use the import utility. By default, the class structure of the P&L contains revenue, cost of sales, operating expenses, other income expenses, and provision for taxes. Let's use the sample chart of accounts I have in Excel as an example. I want to set this up in Plan Guru. If we look at the broad P&L groupings, you'll see that I have a revenue section, a cost of sales section, sales and marketing expenses, personnel expenses, other operating expenses, other income and expense, and a provision for taxes section. If you go back into Plan Guru, you'll see that we need to add a few additional classes to our operating expenses section. Classes can be added from the Add Change Classes dialog seen during analysis setup, or by right-clicking the pre-existing operating expense class and selecting Insert Class from the drop-down menu. After adding my first class, I'll repeat this process until I have all of my classes added. Classes can only be added to the operating expenses section of the P&L. If you have additional nuances to your balance sheet or revenue structure, you can always reorganize these sections of your financials during the reporting process. Many classes can also be removed. A class can be removed during analysis setup by unchecking the checkbox to the left of its description. If a checkbox doesn't appear to the left of the class, it cannot be removed from Plan Guru. If you've already completed analysis setup, remove a class with a right click and select Delete Class from the drop-down menu. In addition, all classes can be renamed by double-clicking the class description and updating its value. Let's go back to the sample chart of accounts. We'll now look at how subtotals can be used when planning your chart of accounts setup in PlanGuru. Within my other operating expenses, I have a number of subgroupings, including travel and entertainment, computer and technology expenses, and corporate and other expenses. I want the ability to see each account balance individually and the ability to group and aggregate similar accounts. Back in PlanGuru, in my analysis with accounts already imported, I'll add a subtotal grouping by highlighting a range of successive accounts, right-clicking and selecting Add Subtotal Grouping, and finally naming the group. Going back to the sample chart of accounts, we'll look at a slightly different scenario. In this example, the data I'm importing from is at a granular account level, but I'd like to budget at a higher level without including excess detail. For instance, I've deemed the corporate and other expenses section to be immaterial to my forecast. As a result, I'll forecast these expenses on a combined basis. PlanGuru allows you to group accounts during the import process so that these accounts show up as one line item on your forecasted financials. The operation is performed during the import process by highlighting a group of accounts and selecting Group Selected Accounts into one line. The process will be described in greater detail in each import video. Once we go back to our PlanGuru grid, you'll see that the corporate and other expenses are crushed into one category rather than using a subtotal or listing out each individual account. In this final example, we'll look at a similar yet slightly different requirement. In our sample chart of accounts, I've decided I want travel and entertainment to show up as one line on my forecasted financials, but I'd like to forecast at the individual account level. This can be accommodated by creating a supporting schedule for travel and entertainment. To add a supporting schedule, I will first delete my travel and entertainment categories and subtotal. Next, I right-click and select Add Supporting Schedule. Next, I name my supporting schedule and choose the appropriate set of options. Once the schedule has been created, I add detail by right-clicking and selecting Insert Category. These supporting schedule categories can be forecasted using the same robust toolset provided on the face of the financial statements. If your analysis contains supporting schedules, they can be accessed by clicking the expansion box to the left of the Revenue and Expenses menu item and then by selecting the schedule of your choosing. That is the conclusion of this video on Chart of Accounts setup options. Whether you choose to use the options I've shown you or simply import your accounts straight into the default class structure, it's important to be cognizant that you have flexibility when setting up your chart of accounts in PlanGuru.